Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, a retired librarian turned homeschool mom. And in this video, we're going to look at this book. This is The Railway Children. Now, I've never read this book. When I picked this out from the library, I thought it was about the children during the Great Depression in the United States being sent out west. That is not what this book is about. It's about a group of children and a family and their mother who move from an opulent life to a little country house where their mother is writing stories. And unbeknownst to them, basically their father's been arrested. He's been accused of espionage. He's innocent of espionage, but essentially they lost their status and they lost their money in their life. So, but throughout this book, they are unaware really of this. The eldest daughter does figure out that her father's been accused of something, that he's in jail, but he doesn't tell his mother. She doesn't tell her siblings about it. She tells her mother that she knows because she sees something in a newspaper. And her mother's like, don't tell your younger siblings. It'll just upset them. So, she doesn't. But it talks about them. They move to a little cottage near a railroad in the British countryside. And this railroad becomes very much a part of their life, as well as this community. And it's very much designed to be read aloud. Excuse me. Sneezing. I have a cat in my lap. Probably doesn't help. But my allergies are still acting up. My kid has an ear infection that doesn't want to go away. Because of course she does. It's December when I'm filming this. All right, back to this book. So it's definitely designed to be read by chapter by chapter. So very similar. They had relatively short chapters, so it's definitely an older novel. Let me see. It's by Edith Nesbit. So again, I had never heard of this book when I grabbed it. It first came out in 1906. So again, this is similar to The Hobbit, I think, and say Anne of Green Gables, The Wizard of Oz. They're designed to be read to children aloud chapter by chapter at night. So that's how this book is designed. It's a very, very good book. It's a classic. Again, I'd never heard of it, but it is a very good book. It's great to read to young children at bedtime if you're looking for a chapter book. It's great to read as older children, particularly as homeschoolers. You're looking at what I would consider classical children's literature. That's what this is. You're looking at the early 1900s, and you're looking at something I would consider, similar to the other stories, a primary document, because it was popular literature at the time of publishing. Otherwise, it wouldn't have continued to be published. We wouldn't really see it. So, and it would have been read and very, very popular with young children. So this kind of gives a look into what children were reading and being read to at this time period. Obviously, most of these children, these would be upper class, middle class kids. So, but again, this is kind of the story. These kids don't really know. The older one doesn't find out until closer to the end of the book that her dad's gone to prison. He is innocent at the end of the book. They actually befriend a man. They see him going back and forth on the train, and it turns out he's relatively powerful. And they start communicating with him. He helps get their dad out of jail. So, and get the real person in, because he sees these kids and they're very friendly, and they befriend a lot of people in this little town. And it has a happy ending. Dad comes home. So, but it shows these children how they learn and have to learn to play on their own. They used to go to school. They had nannies and housekeepers and cooks, and their mother used to teach them a little bit. Now she's writing in order to make a living. So she's trying to write children's stories and mail them off to get money in order to survive. And they're living in this tiny little cottage. And when she is able to sell a story, they're able to splurge on something. Basically tea and biscuits kind of thing. So they don't fully, again, because they're very young, they don't thoroughly grasp it. And you know something's happened, but you don't know what until later when you find out Dad's been arrested. So they knew there was some men who came to talk to their father in his office, and then all of a sudden they sold everything off, and like within days her mom and the kids were in the countryside. So you know something happened, but you don't know what until later, because you see this very much through the children's eyes and how they become part of this community, and particularly this railroad. So this is a really great book. It's a great read aloud book. It's a great book to read with other kids. There's a glossary. It's based off the author who spent some time out in the countryside. It is, and there's a whole bunch of stuff in the back of this book, because it's a Puffins classic. So it's a fish. This is about 272 pages, or with a little bit on at the 73rd page. So it's decently long for a children's book. So something definitely can be read by elementary school kids on their own. It's a great read aloud book. It's a great book to look at if you're looking at children's literature of the early 1900s, because again, this was published in 1906, and kind of give you a look at the lifestyle of these families. This is specifically, again, you get to kind of look at their upper class lifestyle, and then kind of more of what they're living like when they're left to their own devices and they have to play, and how creative they can be. That's the other fun thing, is this railroad, they're young kids, they're out, they have their own devices, they're playing around outside, and they have to figure out things to do because they're pretty much alone. Their mother's busy working. They do have somebody come in like once a day or once a week or something. I can't remember exactly. And help do some of the cooking and cleaning. But that's about it. Probably because the mother doesn't know how. I mean, again, she's upper class. Her father worked, I think, in a bank. Or her husband worked in a bank. So, yeah, she was definitely of the upper middle class of British society. So she would not know how to do any of that stuff. So, fantastic book. That's the end of this review. This is actually a reshoot. I don't know what happened to my original video right after I read that book. But it's a library book and has to go back eventually. Otherwise, it's piling up. So, fantastic book. If you like what you see, be sure to check out the rest of the channel. This is actually the first classics I've covered in a while. But I do cover lots of children's books and chapter books and a variety of different stuff. And I cover films. I'm pretty sure this one's connected to me covering stuff on the railroad, for the sake of covering stuff on the railroad. I do theme months. I'm also doing quite a few book series this year. If you want to check out the channel for that, I've covered the Princess Diaries, the Guardians of Ga'Hoole. I'm covering some more Tamora Pierce, as well as both more Catherine Lasky, who's the Guardian of Ga'Hoole's author, and then Meg Cabot, who's the Princess Diaries. I'm also covering the Princess Diaries, the entire series. So all of Mia's stuff, as well as the I think the 5 or 6 books of her sisters. And then hopefully by the time you see this, she actually has a book coming out in 2023 that has to do with COVID-19 and Mia. That will be covered once it comes out. So you can look forward. I think that might be out already. But again, you can check out that stuff, and we'll see what comes in 2024. I'm probably going to continue the series along with a wide variety of other stuff. So be sure to check out the channel. Like and subscribe. Leave a positive comment if you have one. Thank you.